Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're totally decoding the ultimate guide to mastering Guidewire interview questions. We're going to take you from beginner definitions all the way to some seriously advanced troubleshooting scenarios. If you're gearing up for an interview in the insurance tech space, well, you probably already know that standing out requires way more than just memorizing textbook answers. You really have to prove that you can bridge the gap between complex software and real-world business outcomes. So who actually needs to prep for this? Let's dive in. Whether you're a developer writing in Gosu, a business analyst mapping out complex workflows, or a QA engineer testing frameworks, this ecosystem is just massive and requires a really diverse set of roles. Even solution architects designing the end-to-end systems or project managers overseeing these giant rollouts, they all need to deeply understand this platform. It literally takes a village to deploy enterprise software, and you can bet every single role is heavily scrutinized during the hiring process.
Now here's a massive reason why you're in the right place: the talent gap. The insurance industry's rapid shift away from clunky legacy systems has created a massive hole in the job market. These companies are dealing with mountains of data and extremely strict regulatory requirements. They need modern, cloud-capable systems that absolutely will not break under pressure. Because of this sweeping digital transformation, there is high demand for these skills but a surprisingly low supply of actual experts. What does that mean for you? Well, if you know Guidewire, you are incredibly sought after and looking at a very, very lucrative career path.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll look at the Guidewire talent gap. Then we'll master the core basics, explore the big three centers, dive into some advanced technical concepts, and finally, we'll tackle those tricky, scenario-based tests. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the Guidewire talent gap, and exactly why the insurance world needs you. Moving right along to Section 2, Mastering the Core Basics. Let's do some rapid-fire fundamentals.
First up, we've got to define Guidewire itself. It's basically the standardized, highly scalable platform that's completely revolutionizing how property and casualty, or P&C insurers operate. It is purpose-built from the ground up to manage a company's core operations and entirely replace those aging, clunky legacy systems. This allows insurers to streamline their operations and vastly improve the customer experience.
Next on the list is Gosu. This is the proprietary Java-like language you'll be using to write rules, validations, and integrations right within the system. Now, if you're going for a developer role, expect some heavy questions on this for sure. It's a statically typed language, and it's highly optimized for executing complex insurance business logic as efficiently as possible.
Okay, you also need to fully wrap your head around what an entity is. It simply represents how data, like a specific claim or policy, is structured and stored in the database. Think of it as the core blueprint for a database table. A policy entity securely holds all the policyholder data, while a claim entity organizes everything related to a specific incident. And rounding out our core concepts, we have the Typelist. Think of this kind of like an enum in Java. It standardizes the exact values users can enter across the application, which is a total lifesaver for keeping data clean. When you're dealing with literal millions of insurance records, consistency is everything, and Typelist ensured that the data entered remains standardized and highly reliable across the board.
All right, into Section 3, the big three centers. This is the core functional ecosystem.
So, the whole massive insurance workflow is essentially divided into three core centers: PolicyCenter, ClaimCenter, and BillingCenter. You absolutely want to memorize the specific terminology tied to each one. PolicyCenter is all about the policy lifecycle, so you'll hear terms like underwriting and product models. ClaimCenter handles the chaos of incidents. Here you definitely need to know FNOL, which stands for First Notice of Loss, as well as reserves and subrogation. And lastly, BillingCenter manages the money. Think invoicing, delinquency management, and suspense payments. These systems all beautifully integrate to provide one complete lifecycle solution. To really prove your functional knowledge, you have to be able to confidently walk an interviewer through the exact sequential steps of a policy lifecycle, right? It starts with a submission, moves over to generating a quote, then binding the terms, issuing the policy, and eventually tracking it through a renewal or a cancellation. You've got to prove you understand the underlying business process just as well as you understand the software. Similarly, understanding the claim lifecycle, from the first notice of loss all the way to final settlement, that proves you grasp the actual business reality of insurance. An accident happens, FNL is triggered. Then comes the investigation of the facts, the evaluation of the cost, and finally, the actual settlement payout. Interviewers really want to know that you see the human element behind all this data.
Okay, now we're getting into the deep end. Section 4, Advanced Technical Concepts, where you prove your deep expertise.
You're almost certainly going to be asked to compare deployment models, so be ready to clearly contrast the scalability of the cloud with the high-maintenance control of on-premise environments. Guidewire Cloud is undeniably the future. It offers way better scalability, automatic system updates, and vastly reduced infrastructure headaches. On-premise? Sure, it gives a company total control over their servers, but it comes at the incredibly heavy cost of maintenance and massive IT overhead.
Now, this next one is an absolutely critical distinction for developers. Always emphasize that configuration is preferred over customization. It ensures safe and easy system upgrades. If you tell an interviewer you just love customizing everything from scratch, yeah, that's a huge red flag. Configuration uses out-of-the-box tools without touching the core code, meaning when the next software update rolls out, the system won't break. Customization means writing brand new code, and that can become a total nightmare to maintain over time.
When you're discussing integrations, you need to clearly explain why asynchronous messaging is crucial for maintaining top-tier system performance and scalability. Synchronous messaging literally stops everything. It demands an immediate response and holds up the entire system. But asynchronous messaging, that lets tasks process quietly in the background without forcing the user to wait. And this is exactly what Guidewire relies on to keep the application lightning fast, even during massive data loads.
We made it to the final stretch. Section 5, Scenarios and Behavioral Tests. This is all about real-world problem solving. So, how would you handle a performance issue in Guidewire? Look, interviewers love throwing a big, broad problem at you like this. They do it to see your exact troubleshooting methodology. They don't just want a quick answer. They want to see how your brain actually works when the system slows to a crawl.
The perfect response here is crisp and actionable. You start by analyzing the system logs, hunting down the bottlenecks, optimizing those Gosu queries, and checking the base configurations. Don't just guess at the problem. Show them a step-by-step, methodical approach that isolates the issue safely and efficiently without blowing up the broader live environment.
Okay, here's another one. What would you do if a policy fails during the issuance stage? This is a highly specific scenario that tests both your technical debugging skills and your understanding of the whole policy lifecycle. It forces you to combine your knowledge of PolicyCenter workflows right alongside your back-end debugging expertise.
Again, hit them with a super structured approach. Check the error logs immediately, validate the customer's input data, and debug the specific underwriting business rules that triggered the failure. More often than not, a failure at the issuance stage isn't some random glitch in the software, it's a conflict in the complex underwriting logic. Showing that you know to look at the business rules first proves you really understand the big picture.
And, hey, don't forget that your soft skills are absolutely being evaluated too. So make sure you have some real-world anecdotes ready to go about overcoming tight project deadlines or resolving team conflicts. They want to know you can communicate effectively when a massive integration project is falling behind schedule. Also, proactively mention how you keep your skills sharp by pursuing Guidewire certifications and actively participating in community forums. It shows deep, genuine dedication to your craft.
As you prepare, I want you to ask yourself this final, absolutely crucial question. You know the code, but can you bridge the gap to the business? Because in a Guidewire interview, understanding the actual insurance business outcome is every bit as vital as writing the code. Take the time to not only master Gosu and configuration, but to deeply understand the daily lives of the underwriters and claims adjusters who will be using the system you build. So, are you ready to show them you understand the whole picture? Thanks for joining me on this explainer.